32, Brunswick 33, Concord 48, Keene 53, Naples 32, Nashua 49, Portsmouth 50, Sanford 56, and Tilton 46. Guys, I can't even tell you what those numbers are like when you put them in comparison to what that is nationally in terms of an MSA. So incredible, incredible. I'm going to watch the chat log here because I think there's probably going to be some good back and forth with what I'm about to say. And I'm going to try to give you an update on where we are locally as well as nationally. And I'll start with where the MBA is. And so for us, the MBA is the Mortgage Bankers Association. They're the national entity that we look to every year in terms of where we are, what they're going to forecast, what we're going to do going forward. And I will tell you that the funny part of this is every year we go in and we look at what the MBA says in terms of their forecast, and we sort of take it with a grain of salt. We recognize that they're not always right. In fact, most times they're wrong. And even though we've had a pandemic this year and it's been amazing for mortgage rates, you know, I really feel strongly that what they've proposed for 2021 is very likely to occur. So through August of this year, they are looking at volume of $3 trillion on the mortgage side, and that breaks down to 1.3 trillion in purchase business and 1.7 in refi business. I can tell you that that is the highest rate in the mortgage business since 2003. Absolutely incredible and amazing. So what does that mean for us in terms of the forecast for 2021? Well, as I said, in 2020, they're looking at about 1.3 trillion of purchases. And in 2021, they're looking at about 1.4 trillion in purchases, and refis will back down to 700 billion. So we're looking at a $2.1 trillion year in 2021, which, by the way, pretty closely mimics what 2019 was. So as you guys are well aware, mortgage interest rates are very low. We don't expect any change to that whatsoever. There was a recent change regarding refis, but that does not impact purchases. So be clear, if you hear of something in the market called a GSE adverse fee, which is a 0.5 point add-on to all refis that close after December 1st of this year, it is only refis. It does not impact purchases. So good news there. So let me talk to you about a couple underwriting updates. Let's talk about W-2 borrowers first. So understand that we have to get a verification of employment on a W-2 borrower within 7 days of closing. In some cases, like bond and RD, it's 2 days. So thank God in most cases, the purchases are, you know, cast in stone in terms of a close date. Keep in mind that right up until the last week prior to that closing, we need to ensure that the verification matches everything that we put into the underwriting engine. And how is that different? Well, prior to, we could go out about 30 days on that, prior to, call it the pandemic. And by the way, this is the result of the pandemic, and unfortunately with job losses and forbearance, which I'll talk about as well, these changes have been put in place to ensure that people actually still have a job as we go forward. So again, on W-2 borrowers, we need a verification of employment within 7 days of closing. And on self-employed borrowers, we need a P&L, profit and loss dated within 60 days of close, and 2 months of business bank statements. So again, there's a big difference between self-employed and W-2. Just recognize that that's likely a change from the last time we spoke. They have really sort of looked at small business, unfortunately, has taken it on the chin, as we all know right now, and we're having to take a real hard look to make sure that they're able to continue at the pace they were. Next, I'll talk about forbearance. And when I was on the call back in March and April, forbearance was that big F word. It was something we didn't see coming as an entity or an industry. And it created a lot of heartache for lenders at the time. And so there's been some change. If you recall, back in March and April, I said if someone went into forbearance, it's likely they could not qualify for a mortgage for up to 2 years. That has now changed. So a couple of things. So regarding forbearance, if someone went into forbearance but made their payments throughout, and believe it or not, that happened often where unfortunately these big servicers got a phone call from a borrower and they simply asked about forbearance. What is it? Do I qualify? But did not come out and say, yeah, I want forbearance. Unfortunately, they just put them in. They put them into forbearance. And some people didn't know until they went to qualify for credit. And so if people either requested forbearance and continued to make their payment, or didn't request forbearance and continued to make their payment, we're good, no problem. If they are paid current, so if they requested forbearance and maybe they only needed it for a month or two, and they've paid current, they have no problem there. If they requested forbearance and they used forbearance, but they have now made 3 mortgage payments and the reason for the forbearance is no longer in place, we can move forward with a loan. So I know I've given you a lot. I guess the way I would put it to you is this way. If someone is currently in forbearance and they're taking advantage of what is offered them, they likely are not going to qualify for a mortgage. But if in any of the scenarios that I painted out, they went into forbearance and now they're current, or they've made at least 3 payments, we shouldn't have any problem. I would say to you that, you know, particularly when you're talking to sellers, and of course buyers, but you know, the scenario with a seller is they decide, oh my God, I want to jump on this train, I want to sell my house. If they're in forbearance, it doesn't impact their sale, of course, but it very well could impact the ability for them to buy. And it's a very difficult, I don't want to say lesson, but it's a very difficult thing to find out once they've listed their house and they're under agreement, to then find out, yeah, you can't buy right now. So for what it's worth, if you have specific questions or scenarios about this, this is really where I feel our partnership comes into play. Give us a call, let us know, let us talk to your seller, let us talk to your buyer, and we'll tell you specifically based on their scenario how they look. I see some questions. I'll finish with what I have, and then I'll go back to the chat, assuming we have some time. So now I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which are appraisals. So with everything I just said about volume and business, it should be no surprise to anybody that appraisers are just swamped. They're busy. They can't get to this stuff. That's what you see on your side. What you see on your side is you've got a sale and we need the appraisal done. And what we're seeing on our side is we are in many cases having to send out a request multiple times over multiple days to get an appraiser to accept an appraisal. And there's sort of a dynamic going on here that I want to talk to you about. I'm not suggesting you do anything, but I think you need to know about it. So we are seeing on our side this sort of dynamic of the quick close, let's call it 30 to 40 days, is being used as sort of a bargaining tool to try to get your buyer to be the preferred offer, okay? So very likely they must have a pre-approval letter, which I want to let everybody know. Our loan officers are able to now issue pre-approval letters, not just pre-qual. So full pre-approvals, we're able to do that anytime. So at minimum, you want a pre-approval letter. Likely the terms of the financing are going to be important to the offer. And now it seems as though the timing of closing has become part of that, where a seller is looking at all of those and saying, okay, this box is checked, and oh, by the way, I can close sooner, I'll take that offer. Makes sense. Until you go back to the appraisal piece and understand how difficult it is to get an appraisal done, particularly in rural areas. In some cases, I will tell you, it's taking a minimum of 3 to 5 weeks to get an appraisal. I hate to even tell you that. I know you hate me saying it. It's just the way it is right now. let me talk about what we call a property inspection waiver. So some of you, if you've done a refi, you've heard the term or you've had it. Basically, if the loan qualifies to a certain level, then we don't need an appraisal. We can do what we call a PIW, property inspection waiver. But here's the other nuance that's going on in the market right now. So as you guys all well know, you have the offer price or the list price, and now we have multiple buyers all bidding on the same property, and the offers are going over list. It is very unlikely that we are going to get a PIW on a property that is over list or sort of goes beyond the value of what maybe, I know, bad word, and I feel the same way about it, as estimate, the data that both Fannie and Freddie have in their system. So when we have these overbid offers, the PIW is out the window, so now we must get an appraisal. And then the other part of it is if it's a unique property. If it's a unique property, and then it's rural as well, obviously we need to support it with comps. Very, very difficult thing to do. So in my long-winded blabber about appraisals, the takeaway here should be we're doing everything we can to get these through. It's a very, very difficult time. Much like you guys get your pending report, we get a daily app report. And I will tell you that between July and August, we saw the biggest increase. We went from about 45 loans a day to now in the month of August, about 53 to 54 new loans a day. And through September, can't believe I'm even saying September, through September, we're now back down to about 44 loans a day. Side note, the biggest single day of apps in terms of monthly, in a month, daily apps prior to this year, for us as a company, would have been around 25 apps a day. That's how overwhelmed the industry is. And not to say lenders are so much as these appraisers. They're just incredibly overwhelmed. So I don't have an answer for you other than to just let you know, yep, you might have an offer in place that has all the components of a successful buyer and a purchase, and we are struggling to get that appraisal in. That said, we've done everything from offer to pay more money for a rush appraisal. We have obviously appraisers we can call favors in with. You know appraisers as well that when we tell you who it is, many times you call and sort of, you know, ring their bell as well. So a lot of different ways to do it, but I wanted to let you know where we were with that. So that is it. I'll check the chat here.
Yeah, some good questions, Mark. I'm particularly interested in that one about the IRS.
Okay, is that up at the top here? Okay, I got it. So, just had an issue with the borrower received notification earlier that the tax has not been filed as it should. So we actually will ask the borrower to go get the transcripts. In every instance, we ask the borrower to go get them. They can get them much quicker than we can. However, you know, the COVID thing is it's just a monkey wrench in everything. I mean, it's not surprising that there are going to be issues. You know, I think there also is how can I say this? You know, we understand that COVID has created this monkey wrench, and so we're certainly open to dialogue and conversation around why did something like this happen. We also have these open dialogues and conversations around why doesn't your W-2 match what you had in 2019? Why is your year-to-date P&L not what it was? I mean, come on, you know, these are just uncharted times, and so the sort of conversation around how we can make this thing work, and I guess the end being that we need to be able to have a saleable loan. If we can figure out a way to do that and circumvent a lot of this stuff, we do it in every instance that we can. So, but that is definitely something that's come up.
Mark, can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm the one that posted that comment. In this particular case, the tax return was actually not processed by the IRS.
Okay.
So they have it in their database and they're holding it. And so nothing has been processed.
Is it the 2019?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have anything from the IRS that even acknowledges that they have received it?
Gosh, I would have to ask. I mean, the
Okay.
letter, I haven't seen the letter that my client got specifically, but it was, you know, a certain publication basically stating that they needed to call in and verify who they were in order for the IRS to be willing to even process the return. And they were told that it was just, you know, luck of the draw, you know, that it was that person who was chosen to prove that their return was not fraudulent.
Okay.
You know, so in this case right now, the IRS shows that they actually owe money because their return hasn't been processed, when in
Okay.
fact their return shows a several $1,000 refund.
Okay. Okay. I'll ask about that. That's again, it's sort of what we do on a daily basis. We get these curveball questions and situations. Angela, I don't know how you want to do this, if you guys are running short on time, but if you want, I'll jot down these questions and just send an email out after the fact, or I can start knocking these off, whatever.
Yeah, I would say, Mark, let's hit up the other one. Let's hit up the one on student loans.
Okay.
And then we'll go with, you can jot them down and get back to us on those. But let's
Okay.
hit that student loan one up as well. And then we'll
Okay,
go on to our next bit.
Sounds good. So regarding student loans, there really hasn't been much of a change there. We're sort of waiting on direction from them. You know, it's another one of those situations where the student loan debt is just overwhelming. In situations where they're behind or they're in forbearance, you know, it's an issue, and it's not something that we have clarity on at this point. We're waiting on that. I will tell you that if a borrower has essentially done exactly what I said regarding the forbearance of their mortgage, then we will work with them. And that's probably about the best I can give you on that right now. I'll try to get more clarity on the student loan piece, but it's one, I will tell you, it's one that pops up all the time, and it's a really tough one to overcome simply because it's a blemish on the credit report unless it's truly in forbearance. And if it's in forbearance, then it's a blemish with us because, you know, they're not making their payments. We would have to debt them regardless, just so you know, if they're in forbearance or not.
Thanks for that, Mark. Thanks for all your info. It's always great having you on here.
You bet.
And the insights you give us.
Yeah, I'll shoot you guys an update. I'll jot these questions down and I'll just shoot an email that you can distribute to everybody. And feel free to send more questions in. I'll grab my head of underwriting. We'll get some answers for you and I'll shoot them back out. And don't hesitate to do that anytime. You can always shoot me a question and I'll be happy to update you as we get them.
Thanks again. Mr. Masiello, are you joining me for the second part here, sir?
I am. Now can you hear me okay?
We can.
All right. How about that? So thank you, Mark. Really appreciate it. And we'll have you back on real soon. It's important that we keep ourselves calibrated to what's going on, you know, with the mortgage cycle, especially as we're getting towards the end of the year. And people are going to want to have end of the year closings and all that. So we want to make sure that, you know, we stay, you know, calibrated to that cycle and match it up with what's happening in the mortgage markets. So we're going to talk about 1-in-1. What we're going to do next. Geez, we got prompts. And we got, very exciting. So
It is.
Before Angela talks about 1-in-1, I just want to make a comment about what happened just this past week with Zillow. And for those of you who didn't see it, you know, Zillow has made the move, which we've anticipated now for a number of years, where they've actually entered the brokerage business. You know, they started in 2018 by buying properties, and now they've entered the brokerage business where they'll be hiring brokers to sell the properties that they've bought, but also you can see that they're getting ready to enter the retail side of the industry. So that, you know, what we suspected, and frankly, what we've planned on for a number of years, is that they will become a brokerage. And so we'll have a broader discussion about that probably next week. But I just want to tee up and what it all means and all that stuff. And we've been preparing for this. So it's one of the reasons why, you know, Lorraine's done such, you know, a great job with Delta Media and building the CRM for you guys. and having your own websites and all these types of resources have all really been in place to kind of backfill the eventuality of an interloper, which is really Zillow. See, Zillow is really not in the real estate business. Zillow is in the technology business as the purveyor of real estate, but they actually don't know anything about real estate. They've never been in anyone's living room, right? So, so we'll get into that and what the short-term, long-term ramifications are. We'll probably do that next week. However, just for a tee up for 1-in-1, now that this is a reality, the one thing that nobody can have access to other than you is your database. And your database just quadrupled in importance with Zillow deciding to become a brokerage. So you have all the tools now, you've had them for a while, for you to be able to manage and reach out to your database. Each one of you is sitting on a gold mine. And so we've got all the tools in place. Support specialists know how to do it. If you don't, mailings and email campaigns and all that stuff, it already exists. We don't have to create any of it. We just have to use it. And that's what 1-in-1 is going to be about, as we kick it off again. It's about how to use that database, because that is you being on the offense with your database is the best defense against someone coming in and trying to take your customers like a Zillow. Okay. So, Angela.
Thank you so much for that. And you are 100% spot on with that. And, I have one agent also who's put some money into advertising and a lot of other things and has said to me this year, I've got this. And she's looking at her database as the well. And she says, I just never keep going back to the well. And I'm going to start going back to the well. And I liked that analogy as well. And so with Winning in 21, that's what we're going to do is we're going to be going into that well, into that gold mine that you have. And using that so that you guys don't have to spend the money on advertising and buying leads and all of that, and can just go to the people, the fans you have out there who know, love, and trust you. So Winning in 21, you can print it out on legal paper if you have problems seeing like I do sometimes. But Lorraine is going to show us that we can find Win-in-1. The same place you found it last time. But for those of you that are new to the program, you're going to go to your TMG Connect dashboard. And you're going to be able to find the latest and greatest things on your TMG Connect dashboard. That's where you're going to find that Win-in-1 icon, Winning in 21, will be right there. And the really cool thing about that, here we have our dashboard right here. And you'll just scroll down until you come to the Winning in 21 logo. And that is where you'll find it. How cool is that? She's got it right there. And there it will be. And so you'll see that Winning in 21 October worksheet. You'll click on that. And when that comes up, everything that you need to do that we're sending you someplace to go to will have a hyperlink on it. So you'll just be able to click on that link. So for instance, there's some pre-work you've got to do, or you should do, okay? So there's the CRM booklet that Lorraine put together, and it's just fabulous. So you're gonna wanna look at sections 1 and 2 in that CRM booklet to kind of prep you for where we're gonna go. And this, again, is gonna take you right down through the things that you need to do if you haven't already put your database in your TMG Connect. And some of you have, and some of you haven't. But if you haven't, it's going to make it much easier and much more effective for you to start doing that now. Because again, this database, working it now and having that human connection with people is what's going to help you out in the upcoming months, right? So BHGRE has some fabulous classes coming up. And I know you're going to look at that and you're going to go, Angela, that's a lot of classes. I'm not expecting you to take every class, right? So kind of look down through them, see what works out best in your schedule. And you'll notice though, a lot of these classes are just an hour and a half or an hour. So it's definitely worth taking these. One of the things I want you to notice on these too is there are some drop dead dates as well that you have to sign up for these in advance. So for the ones that you want, if you could go in rather quickly and sign up for them, there's usually a limit for the amount of people that can be in a class. And I think you'll get a lot out of these. You'll notice as well, there's 2 reoccurring programs that are going to go for a little bit longer. And that's going to be your virtual grow cohort and your virtual prosper. Now, virtual grow is going to be for a newer agent or for an agent that wants to revisit some of their skills and get sharpened up on some of their skills. Okay, so that's what you're going to get out of virtual grow class. Virtual prosper class, though, is going to be hands-on, in-depth, and it's going to be working with sellers and prospecting and that kind of thing. So that may be something that you want to look into as well. One of the ones that I'm definitely recommending is that virtual lead gen farming, because one of the things that has been super consistent when I'm talking to agents, and when COVID first hit and people were down, but I still had agents that were doing really well, and I'd talk to them and I'd say, what are you doing with your business? Why are you, I've got other people over here that are struggling a little bit, and you seem to be just zooming through this slow time. And it was people who had spent the quarter before, so fourth quarter last year, they had been doing their farming, right? So I want you to think about that. Kind of think about, what area do I want to farm? And being consistent with your farming is going to help you out. And part of what we're going to do, right, is we're going to farm your CRM. The CRM is going to be one of your farms. So, so there's that. So if you can see, just like we did in the past, we're going to go down, we're going to break it down to tasks to do each week, right? We're not looking for you to do this all at once. You're going to do some different things each week, and we're going to kind of ease into the CRM in the beginning, getting you into my customer for life. And that's one of those set it and forget it kind of things, right? If you remember me, anything about me, I love that as seen on TV stuff, right? Ron Popeil, he had that rotisserie check-in, and you set it and you forget it. And that's what we're going to do with my customer for life. You're going to put your contacts in there, and you're going to set them up, and then they're going to get this. And it is such a super cool thing. And I will try and have Mark Roden on again to talk to you guys about it. But he's got hundreds of people that he sends this out to, and it does a great job for him. So I think that's super cool. So however been a year out from this, we really do have some proven success in using these products, okay? So we'll keep going down through here. And I want to go down to the end, because the other thing I really want to talk about here are some of these networking challenges and connecting challenges. And you notice we did that last year as well. And even though we're not doing as much face-to-face this year, we can still do some networking, and we can still do some connecting. So one of the things that is a really fun networking challenge, and it's also going to help you get more people onto your Facebook business page, right? Because I know people have asked me, how can I get more people onto my Facebook business page? Okay, so you're going to host a contest, right? And it can be a virtual costume contest, right? Have people dress up and enter and post their pictures on your page, and you'll have your contest for that. Or it can be a decorating contest, and I think next month you could run one for recipes, right? What's your favorite Thanksgiving recipe and why? Kind of deal. And these are ways that you're going to offer a prize, and ways that you can get people onto your business page. So as you keep going and you keep posting more things of importance and information that people want, right? Because we're always going to deliver, again, with your TMG Connect, you can auto post into your social media page, and that's going to give people things they want and things of information. It's going to make you the specialist that they go to for real estate. But you're also going to be that person that has that human connection as well. And we all know the human connection is what's going to drive all this going forward. As Chris said, Zillow doesn't have that human connection with them. You do. So again, another connecting challenge we're going to go with is moms, right? You and I know last year we did this. It was a success. Susan Doobie, out of our Auburn office, has already gone out and delivered mums and sent me pictures of these beautiful mums she left on people's doorsteps, which I thought was great. So we want to thank our clients. And when I suggest you do this, you don't have to do this for every single client, right? You can do it for just a few, right? I'm going to do a few this month for this group. And then next month, I'm going to do a few for another group. So I'm not saying go into your database and buy 200 mums and go out and do that, right? We're going to eat this elephant one bite at a time. You're going to break it down into smaller things that you can actually handle on a weekly and monthly basis. So again, thank those clients, because they're awesome. And they're sending you business, right? So it doesn't even have to be to someone that you did business with this year. It could have been someone that referred somebody to you, right? And you're going to give them a mum for thanking, or a little pumpkin, or maybe a bag of treats because it's trick or treat time. So there's a lot of cool things that we're going to do. Week 4, I just want to bring that up so you can get in there and register for that, because I think this class, this social media tool class, is going to be super cool, and it's going to help you again with that time consumption, right? You're going to be able to break things up and go that way with that. It's going to be a lot of, again, the set it and forget it, and that social media tool is yet another one way to do that. Melissa Lake, I love what you just put up, okay? So for those of you who are already on our page, we have a Facebook page that has to do with Winning in One. And so if you're already in there, that's great. And if you're not, if you're new to us and you haven't been part of this before, please go to Facebook and join Winning in 21. Would love to have you in there, and you get to share what you're doing with other people and get some really cool ideas. So it's been a great way for you all to kind of work off each other. I see that Diane put down a front door porch contest and who decorated the best for the season. That's a great idea, Diane. So some really cool things that we can do with this program, guys. And that is what I have for you in Winning in One. And I really appreciate it. We'll talk about these more weekly. There'll be videos on the Facebook page. And all I can say is the people that did it last year, I really saw an improved increase in their business in the first quarter of last year. And I know we're busy right now, but you know, as they say, winter is coming, and winter is coming. So we want to make sure that we're working right through it, and we're going to be where we need to be for next year. So that's what I have there. Work as teams. Way to go, Jessica Wade. That is so true. Chris, do you have anything else for us?
No, that was great. Really fantastic content. And, you know, when we're in times of change, like what we're in, or times of a combination of change and, you know, highly compressed business, which is really what we have right now. We're at this period of time when we're all pushed, right? With the business load we've got. It's counterintuitive to try to fit one more thing in. And the thing that's the most important right now is that you make a little bit of room for learning, because that's how you stay ahead of the curve. You know, there's nothing worse than chasing change. So for as counterintuitive as it is, and I'm not trying to stress anybody, but make a little bit of room for learning right now, because it will pay off. And, you know, all these things, you know, with Mark about the mortgage updates and Win in One, and we'll talk a little bit more about marketing next week. All those types of things are all really learning, and that they'll pay off in dividends. You know, when you're going through change, what people don't like about change is being surprised. But if you're educating yourself a little bit at a time, right, then you're not surprised. So I'll just leave it with that. So you guys are doing amazing work, and congratulations. You should be very proud of what you're doing. And I know what great care you're taking of our clients and customers. So congratulations, and have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Take care, guys.